All right, so you know how we love to dig into those unexpected connections? Well, get this. Today's deep dive takes us into the world of two incredibly influential thinkers you might not think have much in common.
Yeah, we're talking about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the father of the Indian Constitution and a fierce advocate for social justice, and, wait for it, John Dewey, the American philosopher and education reformer.
And believe me, the stuff you sent in is fascinating. We're talking about some serious philosophical connections. But,
What's really got us hooked is how central this Dewey guy seems to have been in Ambedkar's journey.
so we're not just talking about Ambedkar, casually reading a book by Dewey one day. We're talking about Ambedkar being a student of Dewey's at Columbia University.
Yeah, like imagine being in a classroom, soaking up knowledge from a guy who's considered one of the most important thinkers of his time. That's got to leave a mark.
And it definitely did. I mean, our sources suggest that Ambedkar was deeply inspired by Dewey's approach to education, so much so that he actually kind of mirrored it later on.
It's true. And, Dewey was all about this thing called pragmatism when it came to education.
Okay, pragmatism. I feel like that word gets thrown around a lot. What did Dewey actually mean by that?
So it's not just about being like practical in a common sense kind of way. It's more about this idea that, ideas should be tested and validated through action, through real world experience. Dewey believed that education should be about more than just memorizing facts and figures. It should be about equipping people with the tools to solve real problems and make a real difference in the world.
Okay, so kind of like learning by doing.
Exactly. And when you think about the huge challenges that Ambedkar was facing, trying to build a more just and equitable India after independence.
Right. It makes sense that this practical, action-oriented philosophy would really resonate with him.
Absolutely. Ambedkar wasn't content with just dreaming of a better world. He wanted to create one.
And Dewey's pragmatism gave him a framework for doing just that. So how did this all play out in Ambedkar's work? We're talking about a guy who literally shaped the future of India.
And he did it by taking action, by rolling up his sleeves and drafting a constitution for a newly independent nation. It was a monumental task, and you can see Dewey's influence in Ambedkar's focus on creating a system that was not only just in theory, but also workable in practice.
And it wasn't just about practicality. It was also about finding that balance.
Right.
Like walking that middle path, which brings us to another fascinating connection that we found.
Oh, yeah, the modern Buddha connection. So get this, some scholars actually referred to John Dewey as the modern Buddha because his philosophy of pragmatism shared some interesting parallels with Buddhist teachings, especially this idea of the middle path.
Hold on a second. Are you saying there's a link between an American philosopher and like ancient Buddhist wisdom?
Absolutely. Both emphasize this idea of finding a balanced approach to life, of avoiding extremes, and focusing on practical solutions to real-world problems. And remember how Ambedkar was deeply influenced by Buddhist thought himself.
Right, right.
It makes you wonder if this connection added another layer to their bond. Maybe Ambedkar saw in Dewey's pragmatism a reflection of those same Buddhist principles that resonated so deeply with him.
That's amazing. I mean, the modern Buddha, that's wild.
Yeah.
But what I find really powerful is how this all connects back to us even today.
Well, there's this great Dewey quote, "The self is not something ready-made, but something in continuous formation through choice of action."
Wow.
And that idea that we're always shaping ourselves through our choices, through what we choose to do, not just what we think or say, that's incredibly powerful.
And it's a message that must have been incredibly potent for someone like Ambedkar, who dedicated his life to fighting for social justice and equality. Because it means that each of us, through our actions, has the power to contribute to a better world.
Precisely.
So, to wrap this all up, this deep dive has been quite a journey, right? I mean, who knew that a classroom in Columbia University could hold the key to understanding the connection between an American philosopher and the architect of the Indian Constitution?
Right. It's amazing how these seemingly unrelated ideas and individuals can be connected in such profound ways.
And it leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. What other unexpected connections are out there just waiting to be discovered? Maybe there's a hidden link between something you're passionate about and some historical figure or event you never thought twice about.
So go explore. You never know what you might find.
And who knows, maybe you'll uncover a connection that changes how you see the world.
It could happen.